is coming in the ring. There should be 7 entries. These gilts weigh 275 to 282. We need Class 14 crossbred gilt exhibitors to be making your way to the holding pen. Class 14 crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 13 is in the ring. Placing first in Class 12 was Madeline Talent. Jax Johnson was second. Third was Terry Meadows. Faith Barton was fourth. Jada Woodrow was fifth, and Paxton Goins was sixth. Class 13 consists of 7 entries. Those gilts weigh 275 to 282. Class 14 exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 14, please be making your way to the holding pen. But a recap from Class 12, Madeline Talent was first, Jax Johnson second, Terry Meadows third, Faith Barton fourth, Jada Woodrow fifth, and Paxton Goins was sixth.
Continue to work through these cross gilts, and again, the one that balances the best, the one that reaches the best from the side and still has some presence about her, really broad up top, really square in her hind end, and again, really broad in her chest and big in her arm. And that's the young lady in the pink sweater here, the pink shirt closest to me. She's got the extra hair. I like her balance and presence as we get off to the side. That's a good solid class winner in this particular drive. 2 and 3 is where you start to debate. Do you use the big heavy structured one that needs more power, or to use a little rounder one that's got a little more muscularity? At the end of the day, I always go back to build and balance and structure, and that's why the young guy there in the center is going to be second. There's no doubt she needs more rib and body. There's no doubt she needs more width and muscle, but at the same time, man, she's really heavy structured. She's strong-footed up front. She's got a good look out ahead of her blade, and she's longer and more useful in terms of her step. Market type scenario, you get excited about the gilt that's in third. For me, she's too round in terms of her muscle. We need to lengthen her hip and just give her a cleaner pole and crest and look out ahead of her blade. The gilt that comes below her maybe offers a neater and trimmer look. Simply put, she's too narrow from end to end, not stout enough in terms of her bone and feature. I preferred her body composition and leanness just a shot better than the really thick one that comes here out of the next hole. She gets a little too flat in terms of her feet. She gets a little too round out back, but really thick-middled, and certainly her hind leg is set in more squarely than the extra heavy structured one that comes out next. Again, I like the bone and feature. She hooks her hind leg. We got to square her up as you watch her go directly away. This one here we could stouten a fuzz, and she too gets rounder out back and a little wide walking. If you would, let's give those kids a nice hand as they head back.
Good job.
Thanks, Judge. We'll announce results from Class 13 in just a moment. Class 14, he's entering the ring. These gilts weigh 284 to 298. There should be 7 entries in this class. Class 14, gilts weigh in 284 to 298. Class 15, crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 14 is in the ring. Class 15, crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 14 is in the ring. There should be 7 entries. These gilts weigh 284 to 298. But our class winner from Class 13 was Elizabeth Belcher. Asher Williams was second. Jax Johnson third. Whitney Fink fourth. Fifth, Kendall Castleberry. Ansley Dougal was sixth. And Maggie West seventh. Class 14 gilts weighed from 284 to 298. Class 15 exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. But once more, our results from Class 13, Elizabeth Belcher first, Asher Williams second, Jax Johnson third, fourth, Whitney Fink, Kendall Castleberry was fifth, Ansley Dougal was sixth, and Maggie West closed the gate on the class in seventh.
Interesting class in a top pair to discuss because there's some differences between them because the one that wins is not bulletproof by any stretch of the imagination, but she's the best looking. When I get off to the side, she's the neatest and cleanest and tidiest at the top of her neck. She's got big fuzzy ears. She's got a big square upper hip. Again, I'd like to bust her open down low as she comes, and I'd like to loosen her upper hip as she travels away. But those are two things that I can hate on her. The rest of that she's got going on, all very, very good. I love her look out front. She looks like a lady. She's pliable in her mid-body, and again, a good kind of pig to start. This is a young man. He's going to go ahead and start this particular drive. There's things about the gilt in second I like. Recall that one needs to be looser off of her hind end. This one needs to be looser off of her front end, and so we call that a wash. This one packs more at the top of her neck. She's not near as attractive as what our class winner is, but man, she's thick in her body. She's broad in her back. She's got to be just looser out of her front end to go ahead and chase up in this particular drive. Gets a little quicker in her step off of her hind end as well, but man, that one's broad, thick, and wide, and if you like that, maybe you've talked that pair just a shot differently. The one that comes out here next in 3 is a compact gilt for sure. She's short-backed and yet elevated, got lots and lots of power. At the same token, she's not near as feminine out front. She gets shorter in her upper hip. She gets a little rounder in terms of her upper hip as we study her out here. Lots of hair, lots of shag, very, very well presented, not near as just feminine in terms of her look, in terms of length and extension. One below her does have a little more length and extension. She's the flattest in her body and narrowest in terms of her width, the chest, and width, the body. The young ladies here needs to be sounder in terms of her movement and length of hip off of her hind end. Gets a bit straight and stilty in her shoulder, and the same thing off of her hind end as you watch her travel. I told the young lady that Calico simply has to be stouter and sounder as you watch her travel there. But again, thick middle, thick back, well presented, just not the right kind in terms of build and form and function. Much the same here for the young lady that comes out next. That gilt looks like she's been injured at some point, and that's no fault of this young lady. She does a good job showing her to me. Let's give those kids a hand as they head back.
Thanks, Judge. Appreciate that. Class 15 is entering the ring. There should be 6 entries in this class. These gilts weigh 307 to 319. Class 15, these gilts weigh 307 to 319. Class 16, crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 16, crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. But placing first from Class 14 was Tucker Ross. Second, Anna Brooke DeLoach. Brindley Martin was third. Maggie Yarbrough was fourth. Fifth, Abigail Cohn. McKenna Martin was sixth. And Anna Claire Simpkins was seventh. Class 15 is in the ring. These gilts weigh 307 to 319. Class 16 gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. And a recap for Class 14. First, Tucker Ross. Second, Anna Brooke DeLoach. Third, Brindley Martin. Maggie Yarbrough fourth. Fifth, Abigail Cohn. McKenna Martin was sixth. And rounding out the class in seventh was Anna Claire Simpkins.
Another good class to work through here, and again, an easy place for me to start. Once you say, hey, for her contemporary group, her hind leg just reaches a little wide when I get right in behind. Past that very easily, the best one in this particular class. Young lady's red belt is going to start this particular drive. Man, that thing is broad up top, extra heavy duty in terms of bone and foot and feature. 15 years ago as a show judge, I probably beat her and say her hind leg's not good enough, and then you know, the judge in me that's been around a long time would say, hey, you can't beat one that looks like that just for one little flaw. And again, we could square her hind leg, but man, that's a beautiful look out front, big in her body, thick in her end, and certainly big and square in her upper hip. Extra heavy duty in terms of her feature. That's an interesting pig. She does have a hole, but a nice one to start this particular class. class. Young man here is going to be second, and again, tall-fronted, long-hipped, heavy structured. If you stood over both of those gilts, there's no comparison. Our class winner needed to start. This one's not as good in terms of her center rib and body. She's not near as just maxed out up top, but certainly a nice gilt to be in second. The gilt that comes in 3 is long and useful in terms of her step off of her hind legs, certainly setting relatively square. At the same token, not near as durable in terms of feature, not near as just bulky from end to end. The young lady's gilt offers a little more bulk, not near as attractive. She rounds in her upper hip, wants to plant and throw her hind leg as we set her into motion. Doesn't paint that extra pretty picture from the side that we chase from my perspective, but certainly very well presented. The young lady's done a good job to this point today. Here's one that's big-ended and muscular, market type scenario. You might get her up the way. For me, she needs more feature for all the width and power she has up top. Pretty dainty and frail in terms of her bone and foot. The young guy's got one, again, market type scenario, really raw and rigid, lots of shape, gets a little cowboy-legged, a little frailer in terms of his feature, pushes out in her elbow and arm. Let's give those kids a nice hand as they head back.
Thanks, Judge. Class 15 is leaving the ring. Class 16 is entering. There should be 6 entries in Class 16. Those gilts weigh 320 to 335. Class 17 crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 17 crossbred gilt exhibitors, please be making your way to the holding pen. Class 16 is entering the ring. Placing first in Class 15 was Alex Johnson. Tripp McMurray was second. Tennyson Holmesley was third. Brooklyn Cobb fourth. Bailey Brown was fifth. And Easton Hopper was sixth. At the conclusion of Class 17, we will bring the class winners in from classes 10 through 17 to select a top 5 second place exhibitors. Please be on standby. We will select a top 5 crossbred gilt at the conclusion of Class 17. And after we do that, we will bring the top 5 back from each to select an overall top 5. But once more, in the ring now is Class 16, gilts weighing 320 to 335. There should be 6 entries. Class 17 exhibitors, please be bringing your gilts to the holding pen. But once more, from Class 15, Alex Johnson was the class winner. Tripp McMurray had the red ribbon. Third was Tennyson Holmesley. Fourth, Brooklyn Cobb. Bailey Brown was fifth, and Easton Hopper was sixth.
Another good class to work through, and again, an easy class winner in this guy's opinion. That's the Calico Gilt to my left here. Broad, wide, square, sound, good looking, good ribbed, and then has enough flexibility to get out and go for all the power she's packing. I think a nice kind of gilt to start this particular drive, and I think walks away with this field pretty handily, in my opinion. 2 and 3 is where the debate lies. Do you run with stouter, a little broader and thicker that's a little rounder out back, or you go bigger and just a little more extended that's a little looser in terms of skeleton? And again, at the end of the day, if I've got to make a close call, I like to have them loose behind. I like to have them attractive out front and still a flexible, useful upper hip. And for those reasons, the young guy here closest to me is going to go ahead and be second. Now, I'm not going to tell you she's going to overwhelm you coming at you. I'm not going to tell you she's overwhelming in terms of her rib and body, but I think everything fits right and suits me extremely good. Young lady's gilt stouter. There's no question, better in her body and thicker from end to end. Simply put, she's too round in her upper hip, too quick ahead of her blade, and then doesn't just get out and travel with as much authority. But her extra feature, her extra width, got the young lady's gilt that comes out of 4. And again, this one's attractive ahead of her blade. She's got enough width and chest as she comes. She's a little plain down her back line, and she's a little restricted out of her upper hip. But again, she's a short-backed, elevated one with a boxy kind of a build, and I'll gravitate to that over a bigger, more extended, longer kind of a gilt that I call a little round in her upper hip. She plays in her ham-loin junction. She closes at the base of her skeleton. Biggest issue is she needs to have more bone, foot, and feature to suit in this particular drive. Here's a big extended one that certainly has some look out front, gets a bit uncoordinated. She's the driest and shallowest through her rib and body, but again, I like her size and scale. Let's give those kids a nice hand as they head back.
Thanks, Judge. Class 16 is just finished, and we'll announce those results in a moment. Class 17 is entering the ring. These gilts weigh 339 to 357. There are 4 entries in this class. We need the first place exhibitors from classes 10 through 16 to be in the makeup area. Class winners from classes 10 through 16 to be in the makeup area. Class second place winners from those respective classes need to be on standby because we're going to select a top 5 overall. But from class 16, first was Macy Simpson. Terry Meadows was third. Third, Helena Pruitt. Fourth, Clara B. Hill. Fifth, Aubrey Pilgrim. And sixth, Anna Claire Simpkins.
Well, just 4 in this particular drive, and again, a good set of these things to work through. We're going to get through and get you a top 5 cross here. I do think our class winner, though, fits the mold that we've been trying to do all day. The young lady in the pink and orange there has got her very nice class winner. Heavy structured, broad-bodied, thick, sound, square, all things you can say. She's done a nice job with that particular gilt. The young guy's going to be second here, not near as maxed out top in terms of muscle and width, but again, comfort level, build, and balance is next best in this particular drive. We could set her blade back just a shot relative to the other one that we start with, but again, that's being really, really critical. Here's one in front of me. Young man with the pink shirt has got a really thick one with lots of muscle. She gets a little round out back, gets a little cowboy-legged as I get in behind. We need to air up her front tires there, but her extra width and muscle and just spread and dimension got a little looser one here that comes in 4. And again, a little plainer down her back line, a little plainer in terms of her look, not near heavy enough structured to go ahead and suit in this particular drive. If you would, one more time, let's give these kids a hand.
Thanks, Judge. Placing first in Class 17, Caitlin Dumar. Terry Meadows was second. Hunter Smith third, and Bailey Brown was fourth. We now need our class winners from classes 10 through 17. From class 10, we have Tucker Ross. From class 11, Alex Johnson. Class 12, Madeline Talent. Class 13, Elizabeth Belcher. Class 14, Tucker Ross. Class 15, Alex Johnson. Class 16, Macy Simpson. And Class 17, Caitlin Dumar. And we're going to select a top 5 commercial champion. And then we're going to select an overall supreme top 5. So the top 5 breeding gilt exhibitors, you need to be getting ready to come to the holding pen. But our second place winners from classes 10 through 17, please be on standby.
Well, good crossbred gilt show. Let's give all these kiddos a big round of applause. Again, we came through each and every class and got very good representation of what this guy likes. I like him to be good looking out front. I like them to have some shape to their body. I like them to be long enough in terms of their hip, and then let's pack on as much as we can. We get them back out here again, breeding type scenario. For me, it just comes back to the basics in terms of bone and feature. Some would argue one way or another, but at the end of the day, the most flexible, the stoutest, the broadest, and then the most genuine to me out here is very, very easy to find. And again, I told Colton there earlier, he just was just visiting about the weights and stuff that we may see today. And I said, hey, weight don't matter to me. I could care less. It's bring me the best one and I'll use it. In this particular case, it's the small one. Congratulations, that young guy.
Tucker. Class 10.
We dropped that second in, and certainly a very, very good gilt in her own right, and yet a little closer for reserve. But at the end of the day, it just comes back to the basics. You take the freak out of the group that's got all the extras and bells and whistles that all of us are trying to make at home, and then you just get back and you study one that's genuinely good in her body, one that's genuinely good on her feet and legs, and then it has lots of horsepower, really, really square-ended kind of a gilt with a big, big back. Young lady in the leopard's going to be reserved. Congratulations to her.
Alex, what class? Okay, thank you, Judge. Champion Market Gilt exhibited by Tucker Ross from Class 10. The reserve is exhibited by Macy Simpson. Third overall, Alex Johnson. Fourth overall, Madeline Talent. And fifth overall was Tucker Ross from Class 14. Now we're ready to bring back the top five, or the overall champion for the breeding gilts to compete against the commercial gilt. And we're going to select an overall top five gilt from the breeding gilts and the commercial gilts. Okay, from our breeding gilts, we need Charlie Stone with her 551 entry, and Tucker Ross with his 526 entry. And the reserve on down through fifth, from the purebred through the commercial, you need to be on standby. A reminder that the top 5 from both breeding and commercial gilts, pictures will be taken at the conclusion of this, so please be mindful of that.
One last time for your breeding guild exhibitors. I'm not going to talk about either one of these. I'm going to go out and select your grand and your reserve and get you a top 5. I thought the breeding guild show was very good. The top end's been awful special. Let's give them a big round of applause, and I'll get you the top 5.
Alex, we need your 461 entry. Macy Simpson, your 479 entry, or purebred. Okay, our Supreme Overall Champion Guild is exhibited by Charlie Stone. Tucker Ross was the reserve overall. Supreme third overall, Macy Simpson. And Supreme fourth and fifth overall is exhibited by Alex Johnson. Now, pictures will be taken of these winners, and then we'll get into the market show. but Charlie Stone's purebred champion was the Supreme Champion female. Tucker Ross's champion commercial gilt was Reserve Supreme. Macy Simpson Reserve commercial was third overall. Alex Johnson's purebred Reserve was fourth overall, and Alex's commercial third overall wound up fifth Supreme.
All right, guys, so if you are a purebred top 5, crossbred top 5, or overall top 5, you need to be up here holding for your pictures, and I will call out your name. We're going to start with Charlie Stone, and so she will go first. She's going to drive to the backdrop. And just banners and buckles, no flags.
They won't let anybody in the picture but the judge and the alpha people after they get there.
Yes.
Their family.
Yep.
Stop hitting her right now. Let her relax.
Paul's going to hold the banner. If that doesn't work,
Jeff said he's coming.
Amanda.
we're going to do judge family.
You're done. Okay.
Okay? Yep. Do judge